Hello and welcome to this video on customizing your Excel workbook to suit your particular formatting requirements. I'm going to show you the data set that we're going to use for the exercise here. You can use any data set you like. This is a video sales data set that I got from Kaggle.com. Just go over to Kaggle.com so you can see what I mean. So Kaggle.com, I've gone to data sets there. So what's useful about Kaggle is you can download good quality dummy data sets, and if you're learning from somebody or you're training somebody, you can get that data set, and whatever you're both doing to the data, you should be getting the same results. So it's excellent for that, and there's some quite complicated ones. Saves you the time of trying to create a dummy data set every time you want to do something like this. So it's a very good resource. Going back to the video game sales data that I've downloaded, there it is. I've also created a pivot table because personally I use pivot tables in Excel quite a lot. And I wanted to show you some of the features that these buttons can do for you. Now these are the buttons I'm referring to up in the top in the quick access toolbar. So this is obviously a completed version of what we're going to create today, but just to let you know the sorts of things that we'll be able to do is the first one here is going to freeze the top row and change the zoom view to 75%. So I'll click on that. There it is. I'm now at 75% and the top row is frozen, leaving the headings in view. The next one, just in case I come across a data set where the wrong row is frozen, say the headings on row 3 for example, just to save me of going to the trouble of unfreezing, and the process would be going to view, going to freeze panes, then unfreeze. So it just saves me some work on doing that, and this, you could be doing this more than you think. Anyway, I'll refreeze that because that's the way I like to see it. Now, as far as my pivot tables go, I use pivot tables when I'm using Excel quite a lot, so this saves me a lot of time. Now, this is just a straight pivot table of this data where it's not quite in the format the way I like to see it. So one thing I like is the classic view for pivot tables. So this button here will change it to classic view. And the other thing I don't like is these totals. Now, if I wanted to get rid of the totals, I'd have to right click, field settings, none, OK, and go back and do that for all of those. Or I could just click this smiley face and they're all gone. So that's just a couple of examples of what we'll be doing, and I'll show you how to set this up. Okay, let's get started on your workbook. So first of all, you will be opening an Excel workbook and pasting your data into cell A1, etc. One thing we need to do straight after that is this is an Excel workbook. It's not an Excel macro enabled workbook. So what we need to do is we're going to call it whatever you like, my macro workbook or whatever. The format we need for it is Excel macro enabled workbook. Otherwise your macros won't work. So just an important step before we go any further. So once you've done that, save your workbook wherever you'd like to access it, and we'll move on to my data set. Okay, so here it is. This is where you should be at the moment. You've got your video data. this pivot table here if you want to go that far. Otherwise you might want to stop at just what we're doing to the table. Entirely up to you. And we need to add a developer option up here, which we'll do by going to File, Options, Customize Ribbon. Now this always existed in your Excel download. As not everyone uses it, we don't need it there, so it's often not checked. So you just need to check that checkbox. Okay, and now there's developer. Right, when we click down developer, you'll see all these options here for macros. We want to get into the Visual Basic page. Now I've already put this script in. You will find this is blank. What you need to do first of all is just note that you'll have a personal XLSB folder here, as well as what your book's called. Mine's called My Personal Macro Workbook. Book 1 is the one that we just changed into an macro enabled workbook, but this is the one we want. If you put something, a macro, into your personal workbook, it will be there for every workbook that you open on your computer. So it's very important that you put it there. Once you have highlighted this, go to Insert, Module, and this is now where you would paste your code. So what I've done is I've renamed my module down here in Properties. Don't have to do that, makes no difference. And I pasted this code in here. So exactly as it stands, just paste the code in. No changes necessary unless you are familiar with VBA and you want to enhance it a bit, of course. Right, we will then save that and we will close. Now we have the macros in place. We will go to File, Options, Quick Access Toolbar, because that's where we want to put these new buttons. We'll go to Macros on the Choose Commands From. So Quick Access Toolbar and select macros. And there are the macros that you've just pasted in. And they're prefixed by the personal XLSB, which means you know they're in their personal library, available to you anytime. Okay, now freeze heading zoom 75 we'll do first. So we just highlight that, add over here. Once we add, highlight it, go to modify and select any of these little icons that you like. So let's go for a red and white cross, and the next one, remove totals, same deal. We'll go for that one. Makes no difference how you do this. Pivot to classic, makes no difference what icon you choose. Smiley face for that one. And unfreeze heading, I think is the last one. Yep. And put that in. We'll OK that. Now you'll see they've appeared here, and they actually have a macro connected to them, because you can see the personal XLSB unfreeze heading. So our current headings are unfrozen at the moment, so that's not going to do anything. Let's go through the steps now of using these. So this one is freeze heading zoom 75. Done. Next one, remove pivot totals. Now we need to change this to classic view first of all on our pivot, which we've done by a click of a button. Now we're going to go to this one that says remove pivot totals, and then they're gone from the pivot. And the next one is unfreeze the headings in case row 3 had the headings on it or whatever. So I want to keep it frozen, so I'll click back onto that. So there's a demo of how this can be done to make your life easier. it's only limited by your imagination because the macros can pretty much do anything. You can also, if you wanted to, go to Developer, and you may have your own idea from your own experience. So go to Developer, go to Record Macro, call it something meaningful to you that tells you what action the macro is going to take. And I'm going to go, right, I really like my headings bolded. So I'm going to select the whole row. I'm going to go to Home, and I'm going to go to Bold. I'm then going to go to Developer, and I'm going to go Stop Recording. Okay, so now, just to test this out, I'm going to unbold it. I'm going to go back to my options, quick access toolbar, macros, and I didn't name it anything, I called it macro 1, but we know it's going to bold something. So let's highlight it and see. We'll have, let's say, a black box, and there's our black box. Let's see what happens. Row 1 is bold. Easy as that if you wanted to record simple macros. As your macros get more complicated, recording may not be able to do that, but certainly for simple things like that, it can help. Now I hope that's explained how macros can help you there, even without knowing really what they do. If you want to get into VBA, by all means, there's loads of stuff on the net. Otherwise, just use the record, and it should work fine depending on what you want it to do. I hope you got something out of that video today that helps you in your job or whatever you're doing and save you some time. And thank you for watching, and look forward to seeing you in the next tutorial. Bye.